So it's Oscar season, and one of the big takeaways is Sinners, who came away with 16 nominations, which is a record. This film came out over the summer, and it was a huge hit. It's about twin brothers that are returning home to Mississippi from Chicago, and they're trying to start over, and they run into quote-unquote evil. And it stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Delroy Lindo, Wumi Masaku. It feels kind of like an ensemble cast, and the story is really unique, and it's a vampire story, but there's a lot of different things intertwined. It's got a lot of talk about ancestors. It's got, a little bit of like mobster history thrown in. It's just it's a really cool collage of a lot of things, I think. Ryan Coogler is really creative with how he kind of weaves the whole story together, and he's the writer-director. So I kind of wanted to start with you on what your thoughts were. This being a vampire movie, it doesn't feel like one of those typical cheesy, Dracula or, B-movie vampire movies. How do you think it was pulled together, like the writing of the vampire portion of it?
Yeah, because there's so much going on with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk about just the side of the movie that is the technical side, the actors, the acting, the soundtrack, the direction, cinematography, and those elements of the movie in itself, I think it's phenomenal in that regard. Then there's a different aspect to the movie, which is the story, the theme, the concept that he's tapping into. Universally, the vampire theme is about self-reflection, where we don't always see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in order to grow spiritually, in order to grow and to evolve, to become a better person, a better human being, better parent, better husband, these different hats that we wear, it requires a process of self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And a person that's a vampire does not participate in self-reflection. And so that's why in most vampire movies, you see this thing where they can't see themselves in a mirror.
Yeah.
Because there's no self-reflection in this person. This person does not reflect on him or herself in the mistakes that they make, their past, the way their decisions affect those around them. So you have that entire concept being played out right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so then this particular story, he weaves so many things in there, and he had to do a ton of research for this movie unless all these concepts just coalesce on interests that he organically have, because we're talking about 1932 Mississippi. So we're talking about Jim Crow era. We're talking about, if you can remember, just 1918 was the film debut of A Birth of a Nation. Yeah. That was shown in the White House, where the Klan was presented in this heroic sense. Now, that was just 1918, so that's just a little bit over a decade earlier.
Yeah.
So the Klan was at the height of its power, so much so that when the guy had said, the Klan doesn't exist anymore, that was that mark in time where they were becoming the invisible empire.
Yeah.
So they've always been around, and it kind of ties into the other movie, One Battle After Another, where you see the Christmas Adventure Club, which is this invisible empire that's directing things behind the scenes that people have no idea that exists. Well, the clan would be the original evolution of that.
Yeah.
And so whereas you see Sinners is addressing, in a lot of ways, concerns that face the African American community, it evolves into one battle after another where it concerns that face American society.
Mm-hmm.
So not
Yeah.
only did you watch this clan evolve from this terrorist group that just terrorized one group of people, it's very possible that they can terrorize a whole nation now.
Oh, absolutely.
So back to your question, he braids this relationship, especially in the South, where the Asian community and the African American community had an interesting relationship at this point in history,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the Irish.
Yeah.
Because at one point, remember, the Irish was considered the niggas of the U.S.
Yeah, I think at one point every group that's immigrated here has been on the quote unquote shit list.
And that's the thing. It's like, who's writing this shit list?
Right?
Is the thing. Like, who is writing the shit list?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Who decides that?
Who decides that? And upon what authority do they have to decide who goes on that shit list? Because it almost seems as though that invisible element that's writing this shit list is the element that makes the least amount of contribution to American culture.
Right.
Because the Irish have made a legitimate contribution to this culture. It's a very fragile dynamic that once existed between the Irish and the African American community. And then he also touches on that relationship or that dynamic where, and he doesn't use any kind of religious words like Christianity or something like that, because it's not about villainizing anything or not about demonizing anything. But remember, real art, true art, is going to be up for the individual's interpretation.
Yeah.
So a real artist, he's going to draw this painting, or he's going to write this musical piece, or he's going to direct and write this movie. And if he is a true craftsman or a true artist, he's going to create a work of art that, for all the hundreds or thousands or however many people view this painting or this movie, they're going to see a different movie.
It's their own interpretation.
It's their own interpretation. So it's like, I write, but there's an interpretation that Coogler was writing that is only for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody, and I could, espouse what I think his interpretation was, and I could be wrong about it. I know what I could have seen, but I'm educated in different concepts and occultic things that maybe the general public doesn't understand. And obviously Coogler does understand these things. So you don't want to throw anyone's religion under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But it is definitely an eye-opening movie that I think a lot of people will revisit it in the next decade, and it's going to look like a totally different movie than it does today.
Yeah.
And as if you even see this from year to year.
Yeah. I feel like this could be something that it ages really well, and it's something that 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line, it's a point where something changes, like some kind of awareness or consciousness or thought process as a whole society changes things.
And I think that's what he was going after with this movie, is so much more than a vampire movie.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people that are watching it, how many of them are familiar with self-actualization, the way Carl Jung explained it and taught it, or shadow work, the way Carl Jung explained shadow work and taught shadow work through self-realization leading to a process of self-actualization. But later on down the line, not even a decade from now, when the majority of people revisit this movie, they're going to say, oh, this movie was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And I think that's got a lot to do with why it's being celebrated in the sense that it is, where it's got 16 nominations, but it was just unbelievable at the box office because people are seeing something that they can't quite put their finger on. They don't know what it is that they're relating to yet.
Yeah. And one of the things that I thought really brought it all together and it made it this movement too was the importance of music. One of my favorite scenes is where they're in the juke joint and Sammy Preacher Boy is playing, and then it morphs into I would say it's like a Jimi Hendrix or Bootsy Collins type character playing next to him. So this is music of the future, and then you have some musicians of the past. You have some like traditional African dancers in music. Then you have some Irish music. You have all these different types, past and present. You even have, you have hip hop. You have like, what's it, Grandmaster Flash? Like the meld of all of that. I really loved it. And one of the things they mentioned at the very beginning is how music can pierce the veil. Like, can you explain that a little bit? Because they kind of visualize it, but it's hard to like understand what it really means.
Well, he touches on, well, he does a little more than touching on it with that particular scene. Mm-hmm. With the music, it goes over to, if you want to loop in the Black Panther's theme, which is this element called vibranium, which is, the law of vibration.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of like when you go over to what was Avatar, with the mineral in Avatar was unobtainium.
Right? Vibranium sounds a little better.
Right.
Just if you're asking me.
Well, it sounds, but they're both aimed at different concepts.
Yeah.
Unobtainium is an allusion to something different. So when you think about it, it is an excellent word to chasing something that you will never obtain.
Right.
And so that was the best word for that, where vibranium is based on the law of vibration, which is what music is about. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, if you go back into ancient African cultures, if you go back into ancient African spirituality, you have a lot of rituals where the drummers will, form circles, and the shaman will go into a trance based off the rhythm of those drums, that vibration of those drums, and his particular breath work and his particular spiritual gifts will allow him to exist in both worlds. So even though he's in the spirit, in the physical world, he has one foot in the spiritual world. And so this is what Kugler is alluding to. And this is a very careful process, though, because it is real. A lot of times, because people can't understand certain things or certain concepts, they don't think that it's real. You cannot see the law of gravity, and you don't need to understand it to know that you shouldn't jump out of a plane without a parachute.
Right.
So that law doesn't need your understanding for you to be in subjection to it, and that is the same with the law of vibration. So at this particular time in history, there was, the blues. The blues was born out of a really dark period, a really dark element that happened to African Americans after slavery, where you had the Klan was allowed to not only exist, but to flourish. They were allowed to try to instill fear in this generation of African Americans that were recently freed. So that fear that held them in place in a slave culture in the antebellum South or whatever, that fear still existed in the majority of that DNA. And so that Ku Klux Klan element was able to manipulate that fear. As a result of that, the blues was born. And this is something, the ability to create music is something that African DNA carried with us on those boats over here, on those ships. It came over here, a form of self-expression through that innate ability to master rhythm and vibration. And that pain came out in the form of the blues music. The problem with that is that white culture and white women in particular found this music to be very seductive.
Oh, yeah.
It was very powerful music. It expressed the pain, and it came from not a place of weakness, but a place of endurance and a place of power. But you could still hear the pain and the torment in the soul that was creating that music, and everybody that heard it was seduced by it.
Yeah, I would say women are generally emotional beings, and in blues music you feel all of the emotions and the pain and the struggle and all of that, and so it's like a warm blanket for women.
Yeah, and so if I had to narrow it down, one of the most important themes of this movie, or the most important concept that should be pointed to, is the importance of music. The importance of there's a what do you call it, a wives' tale or an urban legend that in his past lifetime, Jay-Z was Robert Johnson.
That's a good one.
So if you look up Robert Johnson, he's got a very interesting story, very powerful story, a very short story as well. Yeah. And if you think about Robert Johnson's story, now let's just say that Jay-Z was Robert Johnson in a previous lifetime, in his last lifetime. And you view this movie through that lens, and you view this movie through the lens of that dance scene where you see Bootsy Collins, where you see George Clinton's character, you see a B-boy or LL Cool J's character, you see a DJ maybe representative of Kool Herc, which is the godfather of hip-hop. And you see how he blended that scene together as almost they were existing simultaneously through time.
Yeah.
The blues was, as a result of the blues, as a result of Jack Johnson's athletic prowess, as a result of the creative prowess of so many blues artists, we went through a period where so many black boys and black men were being castrated and they were being hung from trees, which was the inspiration of Strange Fruit by Nina Simone.
Oh, yeah.
So all of it ties together. Now, what if those souls that paid the price for a crime that they never committed, they were hung from trees and they were being castrated because of another man's intimidation of the blues music and the seductive force that it had over women. Now, all of those boys that paid their life, paid the ultimate price with their lives, they came back and created an instantaneous generation of hip-hop millionaires.
Yeah.
So you hung them in the previous generation, but now they're back as hip hop millionaires, Chameleonaire, Lil Wayne. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
There's, the list is endless.
Right.
But the music has that power. And I think, he has so many concepts going on in this movie that Black culture may need another generation of evolution to catch up to what he's trying to teach.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, right now, maybe some of African American culture that has gone through different evolutionary processes can look at this movie and understand what he's saying with these psychological concepts that he's like so masterfully put into a movie like The Dark Night of the Soul.
Mm-hmm.
There's an element of Egyptian spirituality there too with the twins, where you have Smoke and Stack, which actually is the title of a song, which is Smokestack Lightning by Howling Wolf. That's a song. And it's called Smokestack Lightning.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But he splits that, and one is smoke and one is stack. It's an amazing song. You got to hear it. But one of the brothers has a blue hat, and one of the brothers has a red hat. This is kind of like Set and Osir, which are two principles in the laws of nature and Egyptian spirituality, and it goes back, it permeates through all African spirituality. It's just that the world is slightly more familiar with Egyptian spirituality, but Egyptian spirituality is just the pinnacle of all of African spirituality. All the concepts and the laws and the principles of nature and the personifications and that you see in Egypt and on the Egyptian temples, you can trace that back through, Africa, the flora and the fauna, all of it, the language, the symbols, Go ahead, what were you about to say?
It was kind of going in a different direction, but it was still one of the things I noticed with the vampires that you don't see in some of the other movies is their saliva. Usually, like with vampires, you're so worried about, they're biting you, they want to drink your blood. But in this, they really made a point to show like saliva like coming out of their mouth. And even the one scene with Haley Steinfeld's character, Mary, and Stack, where like the sharing like this, the spit, like she's like, you're drooling. And it just, they made it such a point that it feels like there's more there that, you kind of have to go into on your own.
Yeah, it's hardly any scenes in this movie that you don't have to unpack. There's just a lot there. The saliva thing, the scene with the saliva, there is a lot there. I mean, I can go into how this is definitely an allusion into sex magic. That depends on where you are learning in all these different occultic principles, or it could be someone sees it and it shows a lack of self-control. It's an animal nature. A dog salivates or an animal salivates and he forgets everything else but what it is he's trying to eat or what it is that he is seeking to satisfy himself with. Nothing else really exists.
Yeah.
You become single-minded when you're salivating. If an animal is salivating something, everything else is rescinded.
It's like tunnel vision.
It's tunnel vision, and so salivation is like the allusion to tunnel vision, and so you can say he's establishing that as the concept, how everyone is just so inundated with their own social media, their cell phones and things like that, that they've blocked. The rest of the world is blocked out, and you're only single-mindedly focused on this one thing. and it's completely desire driven. So, and like I said a moment ago, it's real art is going to be made in a way that everybody's going to interpret it different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or not, you can read the book, the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Popol Vuh. You can read any of these books, and depending on where you are consciously, you're going to read a different book.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, we had men read texts in the Bible that said, slaves, be obedient to your masters, and they thought this was a literal thing.
Yeah, this was the it's okay to have slavery.
Yeah, another man can read that may be a more evolved person and may see that as meaning that the slave or the animal within you needs to be subdued and you need to be in control of the animal within you, which is an allusion to the Sphinx in Giza,
Mm-hmm.
where the animal is down on all fours. The animal is subdued. It's the meaning of subdue your passions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you get these, these religious texts that, 10,000 people can read the same text and all read something different, and they'll all extract a different meaning. That doesn't speak to the Bible or any of these holy books being bad. That speaks to the genius behind that writing.
Oh yeah, it your interpretation of these books says more about you than it does about the book.
Right. So you have to be able to write a book or to make a film or write a film that can be interpreted in so many ways is why we're celebrating sinners,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be interpreted in so many ways and rightfully interpreted in so many ways. And then I think in less than a decade, it's going to be validated as being real art, because the social changes that he's alluding to in the movie hasn't even happened yet, and you can see it beginning to happen.
Yeah. So why don't we get into some of the acting, because there are like 3 actors in the movie that were nominated. Michael B. Jordan was nominated for his role as Smoke and Stack. Delroy Lindo was nominated for his portrayal of Delta Slim, which I think was a surprise to people. Just I'm not quite sure why, because when we watched it again, I thought he was phenomenal. He was great. And then Wunmi Masaku played Annie, who was Smoke's wife.
This is my first time seeing Wunmi, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't really speak to her acting chops, but Delroy doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
All the way back to Crooklyn when he did with Spike Lee, and he did Malcolm X with Spike Lee. He was West Indian Archie, and so many other things that Delroy Lindo has done. He shows up, man. Mm-hmm. So when he did what he did in this film, it wasn't surprising that he brought that level of craftsmanship to his role. I can say it might be surprising that he got a nomination that he deserved. He should have gotten a nomination for West Indian Archie, though, in my opinion. And that's been 20, 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
And when he did West Indian Archie, he did it in a way that was very supportive of Denzel Washington's Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
He had to play a rock solid villain, which he did, and he played a really smooth, maniacal villain in West Indian Archie. So I wasn't surprised about it, Delroy Lindo's nomination. I will be surprised if he doesn't get the statue.
Yeah.
Because it's long overdue.
Yeah.
Although I was surprised when Sean Penn didn't get the Golden Globe for Colonel Lockjaw, because I thought Colonel Lockjaw had that locked down.
Right.
So, but if Lindo doesn't walk away with this, that'll be a surprise to me.
Yeah, well, I feel like the best supporting actor category is just stacked.
Who else is in it?
Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, Delroy Lindo, Stellan Skarsgård, who got the Golden Globe for that category, and there's one other. And excuse me, I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but I feel like there's like Best Picture is stacked too.
Yeah, it's all stacked. Supporting, between Delroy Lindo and Sean Penn, it comes down to those two for me.
Yeah.
So I don't think Sean Penn's ever gotten a Oscar either.
I think he has.
I'm
going to double check because I'm pretty sure he has.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I know Delroy Lindo. This is the thing. This is why I think it should go to Delroy Lindo, and not because I don't think that Sean Penn did an extraordinary job with Colonel Lockjaw. I think that the place that Sean Penn had to go to, and don't forget Sean Penn's a phenomenal actor anyway. This guy is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But the place he had to go to conjure up Colonel Lockjaw, it would have been a lot easier for him to access that state of mind and for him to channel Colonel Lockjaw than it would have been for Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo, like the part of his character is he's got this off sense of humor. He keeps saying things, like when he said he shit his pants.
Yeah, like he's joking at times, and it's like we don't need jokes. Right?
Yeah, we don't need jokes right now. But he's doing it because this guy is terrified. Mm-hmm. He's in a terrible situation. They're dealing with vampires, and so he's got a lot of fear going through him. He's living in Mississippi, in Jim Crow era Mississippi. He tells you a very personal story of how one of his close friends was castrated on the ride with him and Stack and Preacher Boy was in the car on the way to the Jew Club. Yeah. He shares this real intimate story, and so that to come up with that, though the emotions that he needed to come up with and make it look genuine and be 100% believable as Delta Slim, I think the Oscars is supposed to go to Delroy Lindo. I think this is his year. What actually happens, who knows?
Right. Sean Penn, actually, he's got 2 Academy Awards.
So he stood in front of the room.
Yeah.
I think it's Delroy's turn to get his Oscar, without a doubt.
Yeah. What do you think about Michael B. Jordan?
Michael B. Jordan's completely believable. And this is the first time, and I'm a Michael B. Jordan fan. I celebrate him and everything that he's done. I thought Killmonger, I wasn't a huge fan of Killmonger.
Yeah.
Because the rage that he had to tap into, I'm very familiar with that kind of rage. And I just didn't get the sense that he tapped into it there as Killmonger. When he did Fruitvale Station, which is another collaboration with him and Coogler, completely convincing, but then that is a role that Michael B. Jordan can go to. He could relate much easier to that role. Not that he couldn't relate to Killmonger just based on his overall experience as an African-American male. That rage that you have access to in order to channel into your craft is right there at your fingertips. for any African American man that knows how to access it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't a huge fan of Killmonger.
Yeah.
With this one, Smoke and Stack, it was two different guys on screen at all times, down to the micro expressions.
Yeah.
Down to the thought processes. When he was Stack, he was Stack. He was not Michael B. Jordan, and he was not Smoke. When he was Smoke, he was not Stack, and he was not Michael B. Jordan. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's up for the lead Oscar category.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's going up against Chalamet.
Yeah.
This is going to be tougher than a Super Bowl to watch. This is going to be tougher than the Bulls in the 90s to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the early 90s when they was dealing with when they was still battling their way through the Knicks and battling their way through the Cavaliers and battling their way through the Pistons before they finally came out as the cream of the crop. Yeah. But before those championships, if you from Chicago and you're a real Bulls fan, it was like either they were running into the Knicks, they were running into Jordan rules in Detroit, or they were running into the Cavaliers.
Yeah,
yeah, and it was brutal. It was UFC before UFC.
Right.
There was no UFC. It was
the NBA.
It was the NBA. So that's a whole different discussion.
Right.
But this is that kind of intensity to it. Because Chalamet always brings the pain, man. This kid,
he's on a mission.
This kid I've never caught this kid asleep at the wheel. Bob Dylan, The King,
Dune.
Even when he did, what's the chocolate guy?
Oh, yeah, Wonka. He was phenomenal.
Willy Wonka.
I didn't think it was going to be that great, and it was a lot of fun.
Listen, I was convinced
that
he was Willy Wonka. Yeah. When I look at an actor, when I'm watching it, first of all, I'm watching it as a writer. And then I'm watching it to see if I can believe you. If I can't believe you, that means you're lying to me. And then we don't have a good relationship for this movie. Because it feels like I'm being lied to.
Yeah.
And when Chalamet shows up, I never feel like I'm being lied to.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And then with Michael B. Jordan, it was just that one movie that because remember he did The Wire as a kid, which he was phenomenal in The Wire. In my opinion. But, with Killmonger, I thought it was just the at the end of Black Panther, when him and the Black Panther Killmonger and Black Panther had their final battle. And there was that last scene where he finally stuck the blade into Killmonger's chest. And right there when Michael B. Jordan was on his knees, he saved the whole movie, man.
Yeah.
I could feel his pain. It was a real scene.
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was 100% in. He was believable.
Yeah.
And so, but throughout the movie with, working with the Russian guy and stealing the mask and all that stuff, it just didn't quite sell me.
Yeah.
But that last scene, he sold me. So, this is a tough call. Yeah. Between him and Chalamet. Who's else in this category?
Let's see here. Best actor, it's Leonardo DiCaprio, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon.
See, I didn't see Blue Moon. I gotta check that out.
And then Wagner Moura, who The Secret Agent, which I believe is a Brazilian film or Argentinian. I have to double check that. But yeah. But for Sinners, what do you think? How many stars do you give Sinners?
So we give a total of 3 stars for me and 3 stars for you.
Yeah.
For a total of 6 stars. I'm giving Sinners all 3 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of production, in terms of acting, and story, concept. Sinners is, either you get it or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things, with, like I keep saying, with real art, it's going to be interpreted differently. And Sinners is going to be interpreted differently from a person that is African American and a person that's not. And then it's going to be interpreted differently between a person that studies spirituality, real spirituality, not belief systems, actual spirituality and occultic principles and natural laws. He's just got all of that packed in there, man, that you cannot unpack it in one sitting. There's no way. It's a multiple watch. And then you've got the score with the Irish dance scene. And
the blend of all the different types of music.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sinners gets all the stars.
I give it all 3 too, because I think that it's a movie that's going to age very well. Like, even just, I saw it a couple times over the summer when it came out, and then watched it again recently, and it hasn't lost anything. It's still enjoyable to watch. It doesn't feel aged or tired or, and it's not something that you put on to go to sleep to. You want to see it. You want to watch all of it.
I pride myself on my attention to detail.
Yeah.
But every time I watch Sinners, there's something that I didn't catch.
Right.
He's got it chock full of so much.
That makes it fun to rewatch.
That when I rewatch it, there's more.
Yeah.
And I don't care how much you put in the film. I get it all. I'm going to get it all.
Right.
No matter how you layer it. I saw it. I know where you were going with that. But that just I wasn't able to do that with Sinners. Yeah.
It's a good one.
That's a good one.